Homemade Kahlua. Here are the main ingredients you need. Vanilla, glycerin, instant coffee, pure vanilla, sugar, and brandy. So we're going to go ahead and make it. Proceed, please, sir.
3 cups of sugar. As soon as I get my recipe.
Oh, yes. You should review the recipe. Don't go off your own memory. We're putting it all in a pan that hasn't been turned on yet.
Sugar. 6 cups of water.
Water, wow. Doesn't need to be distilled of any sort. Just sugar and water. We call that sugar water.
2 more cups to make it 6. Six tablespoons of instant coffee.
He's using decaf because I didn't realize that how much coffee is in Kahlua. If you use the full strength stuff, it's going to keep you up at night, potentially. But if you are starting your day with Kahlua, you want to use full strength caffeinated.
It's very good in chocolate.
He's using heaping teaspoons. So it makes it a little more coffee flavored, right?
4 teaspoons of real vanilla.
Now, how much is this batch going to yield?
The bottle behind you, it'll fill that up.
The one big green one?
And it'll have some extra ones when you get through with it.
Alright. So, we need to also make sure we got a container, but I told them when I get home I'm just going to make it in some mason jars because I got a lot of those.
And I'm putting in the 4 teaspoons of vanilla. A tablespoon of real glycerin, which you can get at a...
like a Rite Aid or a CVS pharmacy. It's not something you probably find on the necessarily at your local grocery store. It's not just for external use only.
Oh, I added the vanilla and glycerin too soon, but we'll try it this way.
Uh-oh. What not to do.
Mistake.
He's under pressure because he's on video. Hopefully we're not going to have an explosion because it's glycerin and nitroglycerin have the same chemical compound. So
it boils for 5 minutes.
If this explodes, we'll know why. So we're boiling it for 5 minutes? Okay,
Yep, boil it for 5 minutes.
I'll come back online to pick this up shortly. Well, here's what you don't want to let happen, and maybe this was because of the glycerin and the additional ingredients, but we had a boil over, we had a small fire, but Ken was able to put it out and extinguish it because he didn't walk away from the kitchen like I have a tendency to do.
Oh, it's gooey too.
It's like marshmallow, huh? It smells like burnt marshmallow in here. If you could only smell this smell in here, it smells like a s'more. So we are at the point where about halfway through the 5-minute boil.
Now we let it cool.
Okay, we gotta just wait for it to cool. And then what do we do after it cools?
Then we add the alcohol.
Oh, we forgot to talk about the alcohol. So we got a bottle of brandy here.
This is actually larger than it calls for. It calls for the smaller size.
Go big or go home is what I always say. And you just find the cheapest brandy you can buy in the store. But you said you can also use vodka.
Yeah, either way. I guess there's a difference in flavor. I prefer the vodka.
You said you prefer the brandy.
I mean brandy. Sorry about that. Can't take the pressure on this video.
So, did you add more glycerin and vanilla?
I'm going to put it in afterwards.
After it cools?
I think maybe I don't know if that may be why it boiled up or not.
I think that might have been. I told you, nitroglycerin. It's nothing you want to mess around with. Okay, we're picking up the ball here. So what he did is he took the pot out to the garage where it was very cold, cooled it down to room temperature, and now he's going to add the brandy.
And this is a bigger bottle than it calls for.
Okay, we're back on track. Got the brandy to add. Oh, you're going to take off that little pour because we don't need to be slowed down.
And now, if you would like to find a scientific way of making something go out in a hurry, you rotate the bottle, it will pour out much faster.
Trade secrets. Get every last drop.
Last drop. You could get a lighter out and heat the bottle up. That'll make the alcohol flow out forever.
Okay.
And then we're going to stir it again. And I am going to put in another vanilla and the
Glycerin.
teaspoons of vanilla.
Because we think that, now I wouldn't go too heavy on the vanilla. It was already pretty sweet.
Okay.
I would maybe do half of what they recommend. He's putting in more because he's concerned that it boiled off when he was doing the 5-minute boil because he put it in the first time.
And instead of putting 4 teaspoons, I'd put half a tablespoon in, which should be equivalent to that. And then the glycerin,
That might have been the culprit for the boil over.
a tablespoon.
Just a little bit. Gives it probably more than anything else is the consistency of the Kahlua to give it that kind of syrupy as opposed to something that's probably too liquefied. I think that's really what glycerin does, is it gives it body.
Okay. Now, the recipe says that you can actually drink this at this point, but it will get better the longer that you leave it that way.
Okay.
For sample purposes, we scoop.
It's got a special sampler just for this.
We couth. Yeah.
Huh. A little
Good.
strong?
Uh-huh.
Go strong or go home.
Good. It still has, it needs to be mixed up more. Now we're just going to let it set for a while and then we'll bottle it.
Now, is there any adjustments you've ever made to try to strengthen it or lighten it up a little?
No, I think probably the size of the bottle of the alcohol you put in it makes a difference.
Okay.
Because the recipe calls for the smaller size as opposed to the bigger one, but since I like alcohol, it gives it a better flavor.
What was that about the vegetable oil?
Well, if you get a bottle like these Grolsch or however you pronounce it,
Yep.
the sealer on it will dry out. So I put vegetable on it, which will soak into it, and then it shouldn't leak with you. It might leak.
Well, it occurred to me too, the cost per bottle of this versus the Kahlua you buy in the store, it's got to be a quarter. Brandy's a lot cheaper than Kahlua.
Oh yeah.
That's why we do this. Think about how much money you're saving.
That bottle's like $15.
Imagine a bottle of that size of Kahlua, you'd probably pay $50. I don't know. I have to do a comparison, cost per bottle.
Be pretty expensive. If I'm going to do that, into those. This gives you a little bit more leeway.
Piece of cake. Now you're just transferring it to the bottles. And having a clear bottle is helpful because you can see how high it's going.
And I didn't pay attention to how much we had in the container here when I started out.
About 3/4 full. You're good. I can see it on this end. There. If you want to fill it up all the way, just leave a
No,
little.
about to the neck.
Okay.
But I was curious, I didn't pay attention to this part of it to know how much of those, how much that fills in.
So we got finished product here. 6 bottles. Ready to give.
Bottles filled to the top.
Ready to go into the cellar and let it mellow for a while. How long would you let it mellow? What was that one I just had a sip of?
That's last year's.
So that was a year ago. I would say that the reward comes to those who wait.
It's drinkable now, but it gets better as longer you let it set.
And that's how you make
A mess.
homemade Kahlua.